Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Walton. I'm really looking forward to us being together in September, along with Mrs. Sarson, and I'm sure we're going to have lots of fun. When we start back, we're going to be thinking about the seasons and how they change. And a story that links to that is this one. It's called Fletcher and the Falling Leaves, and it's written by Julia Rawlinson. It's about a little fox who does get a little bit worried that things are changing and he thinks something's terribly wrong. The world was changing. Each morning, when Fletcher bounded out of the den, everything seemed just a little bit different. The rich green of the forest was turning to a dusty gold, and the soft swishing sound of summer was fading to a crinkly whisper. Fletcher's favourite tree looked dull, dry and brown. Fletcher was beginning to get worried. "I think my tree is sick," said Fletcher. "What's wrong with it?" his mother asked. "Its leaves are turning brown," said Fletcher. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," said Mum. Fletcher ran to his tree and patted the rough bark. "Don't worry, it's only autumn," he said. "You'll be feeling better soon." But the tree didn't get better. Each day more leaves turned brown. One morning the wind blew a small brown leaf off of a branch. Fletcher jumped up and caught it very gently in his paw. "Don't worry, tree, I've got your leaf. I'll fix you." Fletcher looked around, picked a piece of grass and carefully tied the leaf to a branch. Just then another gust of wind ruffled Fletcher's fur. The little leaf shook itself free and it fluttered back down to the ground. Fletcher picked it up again and thought very hard, and then he poked the leaf onto a twig and pushed it down firmly. "Now you hold on tight," said Fletcher. "No more flying around." The little leaf gave a tiny rustle in reply. The next day a strong wind was blowing through the forest. Fletcher rushed out of the den and ran all the way to his tree. Lots of branches were bare, and the little leaves were lost and spun everywhere. "Don't worry, tree, I'll catch them for you, I promise." Round and round and round whirled Fletcher, after all the swirling leaves. "Leaves! Wonderful, just what I need for my nest," said the squirrel. "But these belong to the tree," said Fletcher. "Don't take them away." "The tree doesn't need them any more," said the squirrel, bounding off. "Help, help, the wind and the squirrel are stealing our leaves," cried Fletcher. "Leaves, terrific, just what I need to keep warm," said a porcupine, and he rolled around. "But these leaves belong to the tree," said Fletcher, plucking leaves from the porcupine's needles. "Not any more," sniffled the porcupine and rolled away. "Help, help, the wind, the squirrel and the porcupine are stealing our leaves," said Fletcher. Suddenly, a flock of friendly birds swooped down from the sky. They picked up the leaves and they poked them back onto the tree's branches. Soon the tree was leafy again, and Fletcher flopped down and smiled. "Thank you, birds, thank you," he gasped as the birds fluttered away. He lay looking up through the leaves at the sky, and he drifted off to sleep. But the wind continued to blow, and the branches still danced. The leaves shivered and shook themselves and began to wriggle free. They tossed and they turned and they twitched and they twirled, and they tumbled to the ground. They brushed Fletcher's ears and nose, and they filled his dreams with a whispering sound. When finally Fletcher woke up, he couldn't believe his eyes. Instead of a roof of dancing leaves, all he could see were bare branches against the sky. "Oh, tree, I'm so sorry," gulped Fletcher. "All your leaves are gone." But then he saw, high up in the branches, one small leaf still holding on. "I won't let the wind steal that one," said Fletcher, and he began to climb. He crawled along to the last leaf and he held it firmly on its branch. All day long the wind blew and the branch bounced and Fletcher held tight. "I'll stay with you, Leaf," he said. "Don't worry." But then, all of a sudden, and with a whoosh of wind, the branch bounced high. With a plip, the leaf let go and fluttered like a little flag clutched in Fletcher's paw. Fletcher looked sadly at the leaf that he had promised to save. He carried it carefully down the tree and back down to the den. He made a cosy little bed for it and he gently tucked it in. But all night long, all he could think of was his tree all on its own. At dawn, Fletcher tiptoed outside. The wind had finally stopped blowing and the air was cold. The moon still hung in the clear sky and the pale stars glimmered. As he came to his favourite tree, Fletcher saw a magical sight. Wow, look at that. The tree was hung with 1,000 icicles, shining silver in the early light. "You are more beautiful than ever," whispered Fletcher. "But are you all right?" A tiny breeze shivered the branches, making a sound like laughter. And in the light of the rising sun, the sparkling branches nodded. Fletcher gave his tree a hug, and then he went back to the den for a nice, warm breakfast. And that's the end of our story about Fletcher and his special tree. I hope you enjoyed it, and we're going to be looking at lots more stories when we meet in September. Take care. Bye.